A pleasant day to everyone. Welcome to EDUC 70, facilitating learner-centered teaching. Today we will be having still the chapter 2, Metacognition, thinking about thinking, down to its lesson 4, Metacognitive instruction. This is Ms. Glaffeline D. Baes, your instructor for this subject. From our past lesson, we discussed the metacognitive knowledge coming from our students. We identify what are those. We started with the declarative, procedural, and the conditional. For this presentation, you will be identifying the metacognitive instruction of us teachers. Okay, how are we going to give instruction or good instructions to our students using still the metacognition? And from this presentation, I will be giving you the strategies that you may use in having metacognition for your students. So let's start with this one. Developing metacognitive thinking among students need the creativity of the teacher. Of course, it will be starting with us. If we are not creative enough, and then we will not be able to activate the metacognitive knowledge of our students. Using metacognitive strategies facilitate how learners learn, okay? And in the latter part of this presentation, I will be giving you 5 strategies for this. As studies have proven, metacognitive teaching practices enhance learners' capabilities to transfer their competencies in learning new tasks in a new context. This is from Pauline Score and Brown, 1984, and Schoenfeld, 1991. Once again, how it goes. If your student already have the metacognitive knowledge, and then they will be having the idea of doing it and performing it. At the end, they will be having the product that they are needing. So the competence, they will be able to achieve those needs that they need to have after every class that you are giving them. Moreover, metacognitive teaching practices make learners aware of their strengths and weaknesses as they learn. Knowing their strengths give them the confidence to pursue a task, and knowing their weaknesses lead them to strategize on how to overcome their limited knowledge and how to source out the needed information for the task. Like us teachers, that's why we are having or we are giving students diagnostic exams for us to know their strengths and weaknesses. Also, let's give our students opportunity to know their strengths and weaknesses. Once again, from there, from the strengths that they already knew coming from themselves, they will be having the confidence to do it. For example, their talent is singing or dancing. Of course, they will be dealing with those activities that includes singing and dancing. How about those students that are good in public speaking? Well then, eventually, they will be good at it as they perform public speaking because they already gained their confidence from that strength that they are having. On the other hand, if they already knew their weaknesses, of course, it is up to them how to strategize, how to make that weakness a strength also. And for us teachers, it is part of our responsibilities to help our students to strategize on their weaknesses. Of course, for example, not all our students are good in public speaking or in reciting. And then it is up to us how can we make students talk in our class. So for example, sa recitation, so let's call them or let's have their attention so that they may be able to strategize in doing so, yung weakness nila na yun. And in metacognitive knowledge, they need to have it or they need to have process in gaining that strength coming from their weaknesses. To To effectively develop metacognitive skills among learners, Vinman and others, 2012, recommended three fundamental principles. So this is how it goes. From the first principle that we will be having, metacognitive instruction should be embedded in the context of the task at hand in order to allow for connecting task-specific condition knowledge. Okay? And that is the if side to the procedural knowledge of how the skill is applied in the context of the task. And that is the then side of the production rules. So, this principle, let us teachers know, titignan natin yung if-then concept para sa mga estudyante natin. For example, if gagawin ko tong strategy na to, ma-activate ba yung idea na meron sila? And paano or how, paano natin yun mapapalabas sa estudyante? Papasok dito yung declarative knowledge from the metacognitive knowledge and then up to the procedural knowledge on how they're going to do that. And then, so, dun sa then side, dito nahihingiin yung conditional natin na knowledge. Again, once again, coming from the metacognitive knowledge. So, hindi pa rin natin maiiwan yung tatlong yun. And it is our part or teacher's part na i-activate or we need to trigger those three metacognitive knowledge from our students. So, ibig sabihin, hindi lang dapat mag-start sa kanila yung metacognitive knowledge, but rather, dapat tayo as teachers, we already knew how to do so or how to do that. Second fundamental principle is learners should be informed about the benefits of applying metacognitive skills in order to make them exert the initial extra effort. So, kaya din tayo, kaya din sa part nating teachers, merong motivational part. 'Di ba? So, dun sa mga latter lessons natin, so kaya may motivation, kaya may affective side, hindi lang puro academic, hindi lang puro pang knowledge side yung gagawin natin para sa mga estudyante, but rather we need to give them something na inspirational na ganito, pag natutunan nyo to, ito yung mangyayari in the future, ito yung matututunan nyo in the future. And also, of course, kasi dun sa metacognitive knowledge na meron yung mga estudyante natin, every subject or every aspect in life ay may apply nila yon. So, ibig sabihin, from that, mabibigay na natin yung benefit of using the metacognitive skill or metacognitive knowledge that they are having. So, hindi pwedeng ito yung alam nila and it will end there. But rather, we need to improve and develop different information that they are having within themselves. And then, syempre, dadagdagan natin yon. Third principle under metacognitive instruction is that instruction and training should be stretched over time, thus allowing for the formation of production rules and ensuring the smooth and maintained application of metacognitive skills. Okay, as time goes by, in the near future, being a teacher, sabi ko nga sa inyo din, from our latter lessons, yung plan natin as a teacher must not have just one. Dapat may A, B hanggang Z tayo na plan. Kasi what if dun sa target time mo or dun sa target week na meron ka dun sa plan mo, hindi pa rin kasya para dun sa learning process na hinihingi nung for example, competence o kaya sa syllabus o kaya sa curriculum, hindi pa rin abot sa isang linggo. So, you need to stretch that. You need to adjust from that kasi hindi naman tayo pwede habulin lagi ng mga estudyante or sabihin ay hindi pa sila natututo talaga totally and then tayo, bigay lang ng bigay. So, kailangan nakikita pa rin natin yon. So, from where? Dun sa evaluation, dun sa mga assessment na binibigay natin. So, if we can identify at the early time na hindi talaga nakakasunod yung estudyante na yon, we can ask their attention and then ask them. Okay? So, if you need to do something pa para magawa nila or magkaroon sila ng application dun sa binigay mong lesson, yun yung gagawin natin. Okay? So, we need to adjust from that. Hindi pwedeng, ito yung gusto ko bilang teacher, ito na. But no, you need to take into consideration every single student that you are having. So, as a teacher with metacognitive knowledge prior from your students, kailangan ay alam mo tong mga to, no? So, lalong-lalo tong three fundamental principles under metacognitive instruction. Kasi ikaw yung gagawa nito for your students. Okay? So, let's have now the metacognitive teaching strategies that you teachers will be using in the near future. Let's have the first one. The first one is the graphic organizers. I know you're familiar with the different graphic organizers that you are using in your class. For example, Venn diagram, fishbone diagram, the different charts and graphs. But one of the most useful graphic organizer that we are having is the KWL. And then there is another variant for that, the KWHLAQ, longer version of a chart. So these are the visual illustrations displaying the relationships between facts, information, ideas, or concepts. Through the visual displays, learners are guided in their thinking as they fill in the needed information. One good example is the KWHLAQ chart, a variant of the KWL chart. It is useful during the planning, monitoring, and evaluating phases of the metacognition. So, for example, nakakita kayo ng Venn diagram. Kahit hindi nyo pa binabasa yung instructions, you will be identifying it as the similarities and differences of two concepts, okay, or two or more concepts. But in KWL or in the KWHLAQ, these are the things that we need to identify, or your students need to identify. What do I know about this topic? What do I want to know about this topic or lesson? How do I find out yung lesson na mismo? What I have learned? What action will I take to gain knowledge about from it? And then what new questions do I have? So this one is the KWHLAQ. So yung KWL, yun lang po yung know, want, and learn. So we can categorize that as the planning, monitoring, and evaluating. While this this longer chart, we will be categorizing it as the longer one because your students will be able to elaborate more from your lesson, okay? What they know, and from what they know up to the question or the new questions that they have after having that specific lesson that you gave, okay? So once again, yung KWL or itong KWHLAQ natin, hindi lang siya pang English subject. It is very flexible into different subjects na meron tayo. So, hindi lang siya pang English. Pwede din siya sa science, sa math, sa history, sa lahat. Okay? So, pwede siya. Hindi siya ma-enclose lamang sa English subject. The second metacognitive teaching strategy is this one. What can you say about him? What is he doing kaya, no? So, parang nagbibilang siya, pero may ina-utter siya, may sinasabi siya. So, this strategy of our students, or that we can give to our students, is the thinking aloud, okay? Or think aloud. Let them think aloud because It helps learners to think aloud about their thinking as they undertake a task. The learners report their thoughts while they do it. With the help of a more knowledgeable learner, the errors in the thinking and the inadequacy of declarative, procedural, and conditional knowledge can be pointed out, giving the learner increased self-awareness during learning. So for example, yung mga estudyante mo, 'di ba? May mga small group sila or they do have circle of friends na kasama nila. Halimbawa, group nagre-review sila by group. Kapag nag-iisip sila na ina-utter nila kung ano ba yung nasa isip nila, they will be able to double check kung tama ba yung naiisip nila, tama ba yung nasa isip nila, ito ba talaga yung point ng lesson, ito ba talaga yung sa enumeration, ito ba talaga yung pagkakasunod-sunod, 'di ba? And then also, halimbawa, magkakasama nga sila, narinig ni kaibigan na may mali doon sa iniisip niya habang sinasabi niya kasi nga maingay, naririnig, 'di ba? So, nakakatulong din yung mga tao sa paligid because of that. And then from there, magkakaroon siya ng self-awareness. Si estudyante mo na nag-think aloud. So, kagaya nga ng sinasabi, 'di ba, wag nating masyadong papatahimikin kung academic noise naman yung nakikreate ng ating mga estudyante. Kasi there is such academic noise na nakakatulong sa kanila. So, hindi lang sila nag-iingay, but rather, it is helpful for them. Next one is, ayan, as you can see, she is writing and then identifying or learning something just by writing. According to different studies na din, no, yung mga estudyante na nagsusulat, mahilig magsulat, no, mas nare-retain sa kanila yung lesson. Kasi, from hearing it, from learning it, and then ginajot down nila, mas natatandaan nila yon. And that is journalizing. So, let your students journalize, okay? So, it can be used together with the think aloud. In a journal, learners write what was in their mind when they selected an answer and the reasons for their choice. Later, they write about their realizations where they were wrong and what should have been considering in answering. Finally, they resolve on what do next time is a similar situation or problem arises. So, from there, no, like thinking aloud, kasi nagkakaroon ng self-awareness and then, habang sinusulat din nila, they will also have the realization na, uy, mali pala to, uy, tama pala to. So, ganun siya. Tatakbo ng ganun yung ating metacognitive instruction and metacognitive teaching strategies that we are implying to our students. Okay, and then next is this one. So still I have this confused friend B, but then there is something wrong in his mind. So this one is error analysis. In error analysis teaching strategy, according to Hopeman 2002, systematic approach for using feedback metacognitively to improve one's future performance. So, kapag nagkakaroon tayo ng feedback, wrong man yan or correct, so, magkakaroon niya ng sense in one's future performance. Asking the learners where they are correct and wrong provides avenues for them to evaluate their thinking and results in a learner's metacognitive knowledge, own mistakes, and making use of them to improve future performance. So, for this one, sa error analysis, ayan, ginamit nila yan sa first, second, and third natin na strategies. So, ito pala yun, no, yung checking what is right from wrong dun sa kanilang naiisip and ginagawa. And eventually, dun sa skills na gagawin nila. So, kapag alam nila yung error or alam nila yung mistake na nagawa nila, end result, they will not use it again in their future performance. So, magkakaroon ng domino effect kasi nga, since alam na nila from the start or from their first experience na this is not right, and then they will not be using that again in their next performance. So, ganun lang siya. And then, yun nga, according kay Hopeman, mag-i-improve yung one's future performance. And then, lastly, is this one. As you can see in my presentation, there are multiple individuals helping each other. So, the keyword here is teamwork. So, our last teaching strategy that we can give to our student is the peer mentoring. So, papasok na dito yung cooperative learning na from their peer, they can learn something. So, ako, lalo ngayon sa online class, ang hirap din i-control na magtutulungan kayo lahat or magsasend kayo ng ganito ganyan. So, let's not take advantage about it. Pero, in some ways, tama din naman, no? Yung peer mentoring na tinatawag, but in a good way. It is proven metacognitive strategy as many learners learn best when studying with peers who are more informed and skilled than them. Novice or beginners learner by observing more skilled peers can learn from the metacognitive strategies of their peer mentors. The use of cooperative learning strategies is helpful toward this goal. So, let's put it in a situation, no? For example, in your group, hindi lahat super advanced na din yung mga ideas na meron sila. But there are others na sabihin na natin yung mga nasa laylayan pa, no? So, yung mga nasa laylayan na yon, they can observe those students na medyo advanced yung thinking, and then from them, mas makaka-relate sila kesa dun sa binibigay ng teachers. Why? Kasi dun sila mas close. Dun sa kasama nila. Dun sa kaklase nila. Okay? Like what I've mentioned din from our previous lessons, no? Yung sabi ko sa inyo na I do experience na may mga estudyante ako na nagtuturo after class dun sa mga kaklase nila. Senior high to And then, lalong-lalo sa math subjects, yung mga estudyante na marunong talaga sa math, nag-stay sila, and then yung mga hindi masyado nakakagets nung formula dun sa math subject nila, they do even give review sa mga kaklase nila. And then from there, sabi ko nga, 'di ba, nakakapagtanong sila. Actually, ina-observe ko sila kaya ko nakita yung situation na yon. I'm not invading what they're doing, pero natingin lang ako dun sa may window, dun sa may pinto nila, what are they doing, and then nakita ko nga, there's someone na nasa board, teaching something, and then nung pinapakinggan ko, it's about a lesson, it's about a subject, a specific subject, na nagbibigay aral, or nagbibigay idea pa, dun sa mga kaklase, na alam nga natin ay nasa laylayan. So, once again, as a teacher, wag natin yun aalisin sa mga estudyante natin, or wag natin yun ililimit sa kanila na nakita natin silang nagtutulungan, let them help each others. Pero, sabi ko nga, in a good way, no? Yung example na binigay ko, that is one of the example na good way. Pero yung kapag sobra na doon, syempre, alam nyo na din yung ibig ko sabihin. And then, also, you can identify din naman what is wrong peer mentoring na, no? So, let's do what is the best for us and what is the good for us para hindi tayo mapunta dun sa maling ideya ng peer mentoring. And then for that, that will be our lesson 4. Thank you for listening and wait for your activity from this lesson. Once again, I am Ms. Glofelyn D. Baes. Thank you very much.